And welcome to Indie Fireside number 16, I believe. Is that right? Yes.
What the stream
16?
says.
Yep. We're going to discuss Among the Sleep. It's our horror October game, even though it's not quite October anymore. It is close enough. So we're discussing this scary horror game, kind of. I mean, it is in parts. It's pretty creepy. So, I'd say it fits the bill. Let's see. Disclaimers, as usual. Spoilers are fair game. Spoilers for anything and everything in the game will be discussed as part of the analysis. So if you don't want to get spoiled, come watch the video later. And the other disclaimer that I wanted to start saying is that, we're not a review show. A lot of times we do tend to concentrate on the things that can be improved rather than the things that were done well. But that's really because we're an analysis show. We're analyzing the games and what might have been able to be improved, rather than just we're not doing a game review here. So wanted to say that even if a lot of what we say tends to be toward the needs improvement side, that doesn't mean that any game that we're talking about isn't fun or worth your time. So
Before we move forward, is anyone listening through speakers instead of headphones?
not I.
Yeah, I'm not.
All right, it's echoing. Something I can hear it echoing again, even though it's not the stream. My stream is muted, but it's not too bad. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. And so it was Zach who picked this game. So we're going to have Zach start. Yeah, let's do that. Zach, and as usual, we start with good things and then move on to the criticisms later. So, what was good and enjoyable about this game?
The reason I picked this game, besides the fact that I have a 2-year-old at home, and so I think a lot about how he perceives the world. The reason I picked this game is that it has a very catchy sort of idea behind it. And so something I was looking for in this game was this sort of surrealistic environments that I kind of imagine is how a young child sees the world. And I think that it really hit the nail on the head in some of the environments, in particular the playground that you come to. That was very well done. And I mean the area with there aren't that many areas in this game. This is a fairly short game, so I can't just say everything. But yeah, I mean there was most of the game had a very nice environment, surreal environment.
Well, so what would you say about the playground? You said you cited that as an example of something that you thought was realistic about how a child would view the world.
Oh, crap. Are you there?
I'm here. You hear me? Does anybody hear me?
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear both of you. Well, while he's doing that, I guess maybe I'll continue and then we can follow up on your question. I kind of agree with what he's saying. I think the best part of this is giving a good view from a toddler's perspective. Not only from like just ratio wise, climbing on items, being shorter than everything and looking, but also just through the eyes of a toddler, where that the surrealism of it, you're looking through a toddler's eyes, and toddlers have that, imagination.
Yeah, and they don't know very much yet, so everything is strange.
So it's all fantasy.
Yeah.
It's all fantastical. So it's they did a really good job nailing that, I think, and I would say that I know we're not spoiler free, but just we can talk about that later. But I would say that the ending, especially when that comes around, that it really kind of hammers home that whole idea of seeing things through a toddler's eyes, you know.
Yep.
Like
And
the realism at the end, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead and you can finish this question now that you're back. I figured I'd just
Right. So I asked you, Zach. So you said the playground scene you cited as an example of something you thought was particularly realistically portrayed as something that's through a child's eyes. I'm just wondering, what about that you felt was particularly effective? That particular.
So I don't know if I could say it's realistic because, like I said, who knows exactly what these little creatures are seeing, right? But I pull out the playground because it's the first point of the game where I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I was looking for. But just the idea that there's extravagant, dangerous sort of like the tower that's there to climb, right? I guess it's part of the playground in my eyes, and that is an exceedingly dangerous structure. And to a child, that's playgrounds can seem like dangerous places that much more dangerous than they actually are. So like that sort of heights are exaggerated, structures are exaggerated, that sort of thing. And just there's like a very creepy feel, which is out of place in a playground in general, right? That's the general surreal environment that is presented.
Well, to go, I mean, okay, so since we're not spoiler free, this is a spoiler. With the ending being that the kid was obviously being, I don't know if it would be abused is necessarily the right word, but definitely mistreated. It's not really, they don't really go fully into that, but
I think some abuse is certainly implied there, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they don't show it, but I guess for good reason.
Yeah.
The point is the kid's mistreated, and so seeing that the creepiness is part of that. It's showing how the kid goes through these day-to-day things that in his life, like the playground, going through his house and all that sort of stuff, and something that should be fun is becoming warped because of the turns out to be the mother being abusive to the kid, and it, suddenly these fun things become twisted and creepy because it's scary to him at that point whenever the mother is on a alcoholic binge or whatever. So it's surreal in the sense that obviously that's not actually what's happening in real life for the kid, but it's realistic in the sense that in his mind that's what's happening.
So you make a good point there, Josh, so I think part of this is that I really wanted this game to be about something that I think maybe it wasn't about, right? You're saying that it's about the mother's actions, like sort of tainting or corrupting, distorting like this child's perception of the world and making it something dark. And I think maybe I went into this thinking like, oh, I bet you the world's a scary place to every child. And maybe that's not what they were saying with this. Maybe they were saying that exactly what you're saying, like that is this abuse that's causing some sort of.
Well, I concur with Josh on this. I think that at the end, very clearly, to me, it says, "Oh, this is an abused child. This is."
No, it does say that, but
for this situation, rather than childhood is scary. I certainly got the abuse out of it, not the childhood is scary out of it.
And I think.
Well, I don't know if one means that the other isn't true, right? I mean, the world can be a scary place, and you can have an abusive mother, or you could have a good mother. Right?
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're right in the fact that the world is a scary place, but I think in this game, the setting specifically takes place in places that shouldn't be scary to a kid, but are. Kids don't normally see playgrounds as scary. They see the world past
Yeah.
their limitations at that point to be scary,
and
but
their
not
own
playgrounds
house,
or home.
right?
Yeah.
A lot of it's in his own house, which is an incredibly
Mhm.
scary place in a lot of the game. Yeah. So yeah, no, I see what you're saying, Zach. About wanting the game to be that. I I didn't see that in this game, and I know, and it certainly would be possible to make a game like that. But I think this game, at least to me, seemed to be very clearly single focused on, oh, this is the result of abuse. But
to 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 kind of focus in on the positive of how they nailed the perspective of a toddler, um, narrowing in on certain mechanics like climbing up on things, even just walking or running.
Mhm.
Even some of the some of the audio engineering where when the kid was running, you could hear him breathing, and it's very obviously like a toddler breathing. I don't know how often you guys have how much time you spend around kids, but I can tell that this is like a 2-year-old, because they often like breathe through their nose and like that sort of thing, higher pitch. They stumble a lot, even his interactions with the teddy bear. It was just, they did a really good job, not only with the setting and the perspective or the point of view of him, but also just even the mechanics and everything else.
yeah, and so yeah, that definitely leads into my discussion of the good things, because one of the best things I think about this game was the audio engineering. Um, uh, and not just the audio. What do you call it? All right, just the audio, the soundscape. The picture
Mhm.
that is painted by the
The
audio. There's
ambiance,
a name for that I can't remember right now. um,
the ambiance.
yeah, kind of. There's another name for it. Audio something. Anyway, I'll think of it later. That
Okay.
after the stream's over. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just really, really well done. I think that if I had played this game on mute, it would not even have been the same game, right? I don't know why you ever would do that, but if your sound isn't working on your computer or something. But yeah, I think it wouldn't even be the same game. The audio is just so much of this game. It just cues you in so much. It punctuates moments. It just makes the game for me, is the audio. The graphics also really good. The design of the areas um, were really really well done. I think the audio is just that you know the part that really really kicks the game up to the next level to me.
Agreed.
Also, I guess let's see, since I'm still on the hot seat. Yeah, like I said, graphics were good as well. Can't say much about that. It looked good. The set designs were great. Very surrealistic, as mentioned. Um, a bunch of very familiar things made to look extremely unfamiliar and creepy. Um, so you're making your way through fairly innocuous objects that are all very scary in various ways, and innocuous places and objects. So that's the way that the environments were designed. Like even the smallest thing, like opening a door, is a puzzle to a 2-year-old because you can't reach the knob and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
that's really well done. That um, yeah,
Yeah, I
Let
think
me ask
go
you.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think I cut out a bit, but I think, Josh, you were talking about the touches they put in those mechanics, like the climbing up in the drawers or on stools to open doors, or like when you sprint too long and you fall over.
Mm-hmm.
Like those little touches, I think added a lot of the immersion.
Yeah,
It's much appreciated.
I think that there's a unseen tiredness uh, bar or something, right? Because if you get up and immediately try to sprint again, you'll fall over more and more and more often. You have to walk for a while so that you can actually sprint for a long distance without falling over. At least I noticed that.
And you know what else? Something I noticed too. I don't know if it was just me overthinking it or whatever, but I feel like they put like extra heft into things that something like, you know, the three of us might lift up without thinking. You know, it's just whatever, it's light. But to a 2-year-old, they're like, huh, you know, because you can push things around. So for instance, the basketball would be blocking your path or whatever, and you know, you would just pick up a basketball, toss it somewhere, roll it off to the side. But to a 2-year-old, it's like a, you know, small boulder. You know,
Yeah.
Did you notice that as well, where there's kind of like you had to put effort into moving things?
Yeah, especially the parts where you started having to throw things. And like, well, I'm just going to throw this ball up there. Oh, wait, I can't, because there's no way a 2-year-old is going to be able to throw this ball all the way up there. Now I've got to figure out how to get on top of something else so that I can get
I will say
closer
this
to it.
is the most like daredevil 2-year-old.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well. Yeah.
A very, very good coordination to be climbing up on all that stuff. I know that they do climb. I've been through it twice, but like not like that. The dude was like parkour.
Yeah, I think like
Now-
an actual 2-year-old would have just sat down and cried about, you know, what quarter of the way
Yeah,
through this game.
This kid was pretty high functioning.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a positive or what, so I'll call it neutral. But like it throws a lot of misdirection at you in this game. So like right at the beginning, you know, after the birthday thing and you're in your crib, things start to get creepy. But it throws a lot of misdirection at you from that point where you're like, before you know what's going on in the game anyway, you're like, well, these toys are gonna kill me. You know what I mean? But it especially does that with the teddy bear. I don't know about you, but I thought that teddy bear was evil the whole time up until the end.
Yep, me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think
I
that
never
was
got
a good choice, or are you like, why? Like,
Because I never got that impression for some reason. It just never struck me. I guess
I didn't trust that bear at all.
when I first met the bear, especially after he just like come into a dark closet with me, I'm like,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That thing was like, I'm like, haunted bear, this thing's gonna murder me.
Yeah, so at first, but I don't know, for some reason I got over that real quick. I guess one of the things is that I figured out what was going on like absurdly quickly. I don't know if you guys had this experience either, or as well. I mean, but
I did not actually.
I figured out.
You mean like the reveal?
Yeah, like really early in the story, I remember saying to myself like, "Oh, I bet the mother's the monster. She's probably a drunk or something."
Well, actually, for a long time, like after I realized some of the things that were happening, I didn't think it was the mom. I thought maybe the dad was abusive. And away.
I thought maybe that was what was happening. Yeah.
I think that's what they wanted you to think, and
yeah, I think so too.
I kind of picked up on that's what they wanted me to think, and I think maybe my brain was like, well, yeah, that would be too simple, so it's probably the mom, and so I kind of like had that really
because
quick.
She was like so nice in the beginning.
Yeah, yes, it's like she's so nice. Like there's clearly from a game writing perspective, there's clearly something that's going to be twisted on its head here, and my brain just immediately jumped to that. The mom's probably an abusive alcoholic. The dad, who they're trying to imply is bad, is probably the good guy. I had that figured out like
so
real quick.
Okay, well, let me ask you then, because at the end, spoilers again, you find out the mom's the abusive drunk, and he goes to the door because someone's knocking.
Mm-hmm.
He opens it, and there's no one. It's just light. You know what I mean? He goes out, so you don't actually see the person. But was that supposed to be the dad? Because I got real like creepy vibes from that too. I don't know if I was supposed to, but I was like,
I feel like there might be some voice acting issues here. Because I think that was supposed to be the dad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a social worker or something.
Right? I think it was the dad.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe it's like EPS, because I was like, man, This kid just opened the door to probably a stranger, and the guy's like, "You want me to fix your bear?" You know, it doesn't actually sound like that, but you know what? It just came off that way. I don't know.
Clearly it was the
really...
person who gave him the bear,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's clearly his
sounded that way.
dad.
Yeah, that's why I was like, maybe the dad. But it was just really weird how they implemented that. I thought. I don't know.
Okay, I didn't get that, but okay, I guess I could understand where you're coming from. I didn't get that at all. I pretty
Again,
much picked up immediately. This is the dad. He's a nice guy. He's gonna fix my bear.
I'll reiterate that I knew it was the dad, but I feel like there's a voice acting like I think it's like a Norwegian studio or something or group.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing is like I just didn't understand
So-
why the dad was there in the first place. Was it like visitation?
He's
No,
been
he's-
pounding on the door for like days.
No, he's coming to pick up the kid. The kid's moving out.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
losing custody of him.
Okay, so I mean, was that? Did I miss that in the story? Like that?
Yes,
The mother was
she
losing-
talks about it briefly, and there's a flashback. She's like, "I'll be damned if he's gonna take you away from me." In that sort of drunken part where she's, and there's boxes all over the house.
Okay.
They're clearly
Uh-huh.
moving,
So
and she.
bittersweet ending then.
Yeah, I think that at least it was clear to me that the child is not going to be living with her. He's going to live with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me wonder how she got custody in the first place.
Because she's a woman.
Yeah, they do heavily
Yeah.
favor mothers usually.
It may not have been known that she's a drunk either. So.
Right. Yeah, it's probably the dad had to fight it in court, and they, discovered, but that's a different game entirely.
I get like the ending just gave me severe it was really heavy, the ending.
Mhm.
And I didn't really get that kind of feeling since probably playing Papo and Yo.
Yeah, I did feel a lot of Pop and Yo sort of in that, right?
I get that too. Yeah.
It was like a creepier version of that.
hmm
So, but yeah, I didn't really consider. I didn't want to call that positive or negative. That's why but I wanted to throw that in there because it was just.
Yeah.
Right, and the bear. I feel like maybe it was a voice actor thing too there as well. I mean, there was something creepy about the actor there.
I thought
just
the
gave me-
mom
I was
was
like, are
the
they trying
worst
to
voice
it's
actor.
supposed to be like a red herring or something? Because
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the beginning, the mom just seemed like really like someone just reading lines off a script to me. I'm like, ooh, this is some bad
Yeah.
voice acting.
yeah, the voice acting was mediocre. Not the
But-
worst I ever heard, but it was definitely lacking.
I wonder if the Norwegian voice acting is better since the studio is Norwegian.
I hope I don't know anyone in this game.
They're gonna call you Josh.
Because I remember thinking the mother sounded familiar. Now I got to look it up.
Oh, I mean, the later part though, the really dramatic part, I didn't have a problem with her acting. It was her acting sweet. Like even in the beginning, it just seemed so insincere. Like if you're gonna turn the tables,
We know
you
that
gotta-
she is kind of insincere, right? I mean, she.
Well, I mean, I don't get
Not
the
being
impression.
herself.
I don't get the impression that she actually doesn't care for the kid, but she obviously has problems and needs to not be around the kid. But
Well, right, but sometimes if you overcompensate and become like into a saccharine sweet sort of
Yeah.
state
yeah,
when you maybe have overstepped certain boundaries the night
Right.
before or something,
right, yeah, it could be, yeah.
So maybe it was a choice. I don't know.
Interesting. So they don't credit the father, but they do credit the mother and the teddy bear.
Yeah, they don't
Uh,
credit
the
the
woman-
father. I noticed that too. I was like, that's weird. Okay, but
The
yeah,
woman that voices the mother has been in some fairly big games. Interestingly enough, she's been. I'm not going to name her name since we're just kind of
Oh,
crapped on her, but
Yeah.
God damn it! Come on, phone. She's been in The Wolf Among Us,
okay, yeah,
League of Legends, Sims 4, Crypt of the Necrodancer, NBA 2K20, probably in like one of the live act or one of the cutscenes they have in the story mode. Command and Conquer. Yeah. So some fairly big stuff, not a lot. Would Teddy, the guy who did Teddy, has done voiceover in all the Scream movies,
Oh, really? Okay.
and also voices Mojo Jojo in the new Powerpuff Girls.
Oh, they did a reboot of that?
It says 2016 to 2019. I think they did. Yeah, he's in Red Dead Redemption 2. Wow. So I don't know. Maybe it was bad direction.
Yeah, and it was only the beginning too. It's I mean, she doesn't talk for most of it, then except the few memory parts. So those were fine. And the dramatic parts where she's all acting abusive and that kind of thing, and the ending part, that was all fine. It's just, I guess, the really beginning part, and maybe it was just maybe it wasn't bad acting. Maybe it was a decision to act insincere,
I think,
like we discussed. I don't know.
Yeah, they could have been trying to make it seem like that, or honestly, someone who's inexperienced at voice direction, because I mean, it's not like you have a voice director, right? I mean, you know how you want it to sound in your head, but not everyone has the ear. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible too that they just weren't experienced in voice direction and just did not give good direction.
Yeah.
Because like I said, this guy, I mean, he was in Horizon Zero Dawn, Dishonored 2. He's in a lot of stuff. Teen Titans Go. It's Mojo Jojo again. But yeah.
Well, I didn't ever have any problem with the bear voice actor at all. But I guess you guys did. But
yeah, I guess that maybe some of the creepy factor came from that. But
yeah. Okay. So are we done with all the sugary niceness? Are we gonna tear into it?
put on our abusive side.
Yeah. Let's get some wine in us,
bro. I will say, as a parent, that hits me harder than probably most. I did not. It's not a bad part of the game. I understand games have a message and that sort of stuff, but like, I don't like it because it gets too real at a certain point.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I have a very close friend who was in that situation. His wife, at the time, they are now divorced, and he has custody of the kids, thank goodness. But she was mostly unknown to him, very, very, very abusive to their children. So that's what the game made me think of, is his situation.
As messed up as it is, I mean, obviously she's shitty for doing that to the kid, but as messed up as it is, I feel bad for her because I mean, not that I do that. I don't get drunk and smack the kids around, but like, I understand that things can get overwhelming. I have anxiety. I understand that feeling of being overwhelmed and frustrated, but it's a matter of controlling that. You know what I mean? So I feel bad for her, and obviously the right thing was for the kid to go to the dad if that's what happened. But just I felt like maybe it demonized her too much. If that is okay to say, I feel like someone's going to jump on me.
I don't know that it did, because I mean, when she's on the floor, I mean, you do see that she's humanized.
Yeah.
I don't
right.
I don't think it paints her as being universally evil. It certainly paints her as someone who does not need to be taking care of that kid.
You're right, because there are parts like in the beginning with the birthday party where she's obviously she loves it.
And during all the memories, they're good memories, right? They're reading a story, they're at the park looking at owls. I think all of those, are good. Good experiences with her, that kind of thing.
And it has that touch where, so after she like snaps at you, I don't know, I assume you guys all went up and tried to like interact with her.
Yeah.
And so you kind of give her like a pat on the head or back or something.
Yep.
Before you leave, which is very touching in a way,
Yep. Yep, I did that as
well. It did hurt, right?
So for negatives, I will say that I have two main negatives, but I'll say one and then I'll let you guys go. First was, I would say that I thought the game was maybe too easy, too forgiving.
Mhm.
I understand you're playing as a kid, and like the whole, it's the kid doesn't die, but like you get caught by the monster or whatever, and you just start like a few feet back from where you were. It's like, okay, well, there's not really a consequence for losing.
Mhm. Well, I started looking at it as a walking sim after a while because I mean it's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's very
and
little gameplay. It's
and even like
exploration.
like the puzzles and climbing and stuff like that. It was simple. It wasn't like anything challenging. But I guess if you go into it looking like it's like a Gone Home type thing, with a little bit of extra stuff, then
Yeah.
sure.
There's a few mechanics in there, right? I mean, there's something in there, but yeah, you're basically right.
Yeah, after a while, I definitely just started judging it by the standards of a walking simulation. I mean, that's what it is to me. It's a walking simulation with a few little enhanced gameplay features, but I think it falls kind of within the realm of walking sim to me.
So in terms of too easy, I will point out that at least I'm of the school of thought that if you die in a horror game, I think it's a failure of the game. You lose the immersion, right? You don't have horror if you die and then you can restore. It's kind of then it becomes something more like an action game or something else, right? I mean,
it is kind of true. Like in any horror game that you die, it kind of like when it happens, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid, and you're like, oh,
right, and then it's like, oh,
now I'm not really that scared about it. It's just gonna.
You're just gonna start over, right? And then yeah.
I know that when in this game, the first time I died by getting caught by the well witch, whatever tree lady, or I don't know, version of your mom. That was like a big release, right? All of a sudden, it's like, oh, that's right, okay, it's not a big deal anymore. Right? There was like this tension before, but now not so much.
I think the first time I died, it actually did increase the tension because I had no idea that I could die up until that point. And so I'm like, oh shit, I could die. So then there's a little bit more tension because I actually have to be careful and avoid this thing.
Oh right,
instead of
because you're just walking around.
Yeah. I just saw it standing there. I'm like, I'm just gonna go walk up to this thing and see what it does. Oh, it killed me.
I think the biggest point in tension for me was not the death in itself, but like, and this is true for any video game, any horror video game, where I feel like something is chasing me and I can't like move fast enough. And there were a lot of these situations where you like, remember like the hallway with all those doors and stuff like that you could open and hide in.
Mm-hmm.
There were like these little
in the coat section.
Yeah. There were like these little lips that you would get stuck on. You're like, come on, go in, go in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could hear them coming.
Yeah.
Or
that's probably the biggest part of tension, and I don't think it was intentional that you would be having trouble getting in there. But I guess it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this part I think is scripted in the game, but I'm not sure. If you're in the area with the tree witch lady, when you're just about to get out of her area and you have to open that window, so you climb up on the stool and the chair and then up to the windowsill. And you look around, she's coming right at you, and you have to open a window in time.
Yeah.
Like that was like such a tense moment.
Yeah,
that killed me.
Yeah, that was well done. Yeah,
because the window takes forever to open. You're just like, holy crap, and you can't look while you're opening the window, right?
Yeah, that was
good.
Man, it's kind of like how like in Amnesia, where you had to like crank the door open when the water monster's coming. I
didn't play that game yet, but yes.
Probably played you haven't played Amnesia yet?
I have not.
2010.
Yeah, that was good. And I will contrast that particularly good moment with the opening the gate moment. And the opening the gate, she also comes and chases you when you open the gate right before that moment.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I mean, I opened the gate and then I turned around and she was already there and killed me. So I'm like, there was no tension because I didn't know she was there. I just opened the gate and then I was dead. I had no idea that she was even coming. So I was like, well, that kind of was stupid.
All right. So we're talking negatives, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So one of the things that this game did poorly was in that section there. I think that tree lady is just like wandering around randomly.
Is she?
I'm except for in a few moments when it's scripted, like when you're in the shack, I think that she always is going to come by and sort of walk by the shack, or when you're in that very end point.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
I suspect.
I didn't know. I also was wondering, is this scripted or
if it's not random, it's just sort of on a patrol or something.
Yeah.
Which is terror. I guess I don't understand the thought process there. When you contrast it with the code section, where there's a very clear mechanic of you make noise and then the thing comes and gets you. And so you have to go through all this process of not making noise. And then sometimes the noise will happen anyway or something like that. Like, that's really well done. But I think you need those rules, right? Any good horror or anything has like a set of rules that it sets up.
Well, did you figure out that? So you're talking about the bookcase area, right?
All those bottles are set up like on top of books or boxes or something like that.
Well, that's the good example.
So, but you're talking about the bookcase area. So you figured.
Yeah, you can climb underneath the bookcases.
Yeah, you climb underneath the bookcases, and then she can't get you. So that's the idea. Right. Is you just look out, see if she's there, and run to the next bookcase. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it did take me a couple deaths before I figured out you could get under the bookcase, but after that, it's pretty easy to avoid.
With the noise section, though, you mentioned that was like the good part. I actually kind of disagree, and I feel like that kind of goes into like me saying that it was a little too easy, because I feel like a good horror game setting up that sort of mechanic where you're like, don't make noise or else it'll get you, will force you to make noise. Like it's part of it. Like, in order to progress, you have to throw a bottle. You know what I mean? And you know when you throw the bottle, that's going to come for you. Instead of the game doing it for you, or either that or just straight up passing by it, because it's not hard to go around.
Right. I was so sure at some point there was going to be a bunch of bottles, and I'm slowly taking them off the crates and stuff like that. And then somebody's going to come around a corner and I have to run through them or something and make a huge. And that would have been a brilliant moment. It would have been amazing to do that.
Yeah. But I felt like they could have done better. Does anyone have another one, or do you want me to say my second one?
Well, I mean, I could say, okay. So my main negative about this game really is not a criticism of the game, but I will point out that I was really incredibly nauseous playing this game from beginning to end. The bobbing motion.
Well, it's part of the 2-year-old thing.
Yeah, well, I realize that. That's why I'm saying it's not a criticism of the game. But
you've been puking a lot when you were a toddler.
This game was, it was unbearable. I mean, I bore it. I got to the end. Thankfully, it was short. I got through 3 hours, I believe, was my playtime.
Hey, you're sprinting.
That's kind of the playtime. I got 3 hours too, so I assume.
I guess I explore too much.
But yeah, it was. I had to turn it off and take breaks, or I was literally just going to puke. It's just unbearable. And I know that I have a problem with first person games in general, is that they make me nauseous. But this is like one of the worst.
Was it better or worse than Scanner Sombre?
I think. I'm trying to remember now, because Scanner Sombre was a while back. Exactly.
That was the first thing you said. Is that I just you said every like 5 minutes you had to stop because you were like getting sick.
Yeah, I think maybe similar. I guess. It's
wow.
It's just that thing about being in the dark, in a first person view. It makes my stomach churn. And so I had a very hard time, even though there are a lot of good things about this game, I had a very hard time trying to enjoy this game in any way, because I was just constantly sick as I played it. So that's my negative, although, like I said, it's not necessarily a criticism, although it could be a caveat to anyone else who has a similar disposition to be nauseated by first-person games. This one is one of the worst ones for that.
Just to point out, since I'm watching your chat, Allison Sylvansky says, "Hi, Vance. Nice to see you again."
Oh, hi, Allison. She showed up. Yeah.
I'm gonna say my second one. So you mentioned that you liked the graphics / art. I would say I'm not a huge fan of some of the design for the monster, or at least some versions of the monster. Like for instance, in the coat area, I thought it was kind of lame. For the most part, the coat covering it made it a little creepy in a guy in a unmarked van kind of way, but like it wasn't.
Well, I didn't get the coat monster, so obviously the bog monster was her. But the coat monster, did she put on a coat? There wasn't anybody else in the house. It had
It was
to be
just like
her.
a shadow creature. It might have been the same one from the beginning. I'm not sure, but it's a shadow creature with long, like Nosferatu fingers.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I know what it looks
wearing a
like.
coat.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I just don't get where it fits into the story, right? Because she's the monster, so she
I think
put on a
it's
coat
all
and a
her.
hat. Yeah.
Well,
She wears that coat.
Well, I think that the whole coat thing is just it's a thing that would be scary to a child, like the tree would be scary to a child through a window. Like the perception of the like a coat hanging up, it can be scary. Like it could give them a start.
Dark,
Yeah.
So we're just picking these tropes basically.
Yeah.
And
what that
and
monster
making them
looked like is earlier in the game there are some coat racks that
Yep.
look like monsters, right? And so that monster actually looked like one of those coat racks. So I don't know. Maybe
That's right.
she was beating him with a coat rack. That's what that was supposed to mean. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you talk about this sort of distorting his perception of the world. It doesn't have to be as cut and dry as this is a version of her. Even though the tree monster definitely looked like her, a woman at least.
Yeah.
Well, I'm jumping to the conclusion, just saying that maybe it's just that she wore that coat a lot.
It looked like a woman's.
They obviously don't express that in any way outside of that monster. But I mean, there were a lot of coats hanging up in the closet that looked like that.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
a lot of coats.
Yeah. Either that, or he has like a really big phobia of Inspector Gadget.
Yeah.
I think his mom might be Inspector Gadget. She has a lot of Inspector Gadget coats. Have you seen Inspector Gadget when he opens his closet and they're all identical coats? Yeah.
Turns out Dr. Claw is his father.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my other thing. I was like, it's kind of a lame monster design. In some parts, especially the shadow monster. The tree monster was better, but overall it was a little tame, I thought.
Yeah.
And the first monster was just some nondescript humanoid shape, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah. I mean, but it was a little scarier in the beginning because you didn't know what was happening. You know, it was just this thing that was stalking you throughout the house.
Right.
You know, so I felt like that had that going for it, but looking back on it, you know, after playing the game, it's like, you could have done better.
Yeah. I guess the only other negative that I would have is just also not really a negative. It's just a game design choice, and you already mentioned it. Is that it's just a really walk in the park sort of game that which I was fine with. I was definitely fine with it being easy to progress so that I could get to the end and not puke.
If you're coming from the point of view that it's a walking simulator, I will actually give it this and say that the feel and everything about it is what I hoped Gone Home would have been. In the sense that Gone Home marketed itself as a creepy, scary game, and it was not at all. Except for maybe like a few hints of like occultism, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, Gone Home really should take some lessons from this if they were to be in the walking simulator
Gone Home
business.
pissed me off. I was like, I'm going to sue them for false advertising. This is bullshit.
No, I agree. Gone Home was a terrible game, but I did not like that game at all.
Firewatch did the same thing.
Oh, did it? I didn't even play Firewatch yet because I heard mixed to negative things about it. And I'm like, I'm not.
I liked I will say I liked both of those games for what they were. It's just that I wish they had expressed this to me going into it. I feel like they marketed themselves incorrectly to get people to get it. You know what I mean? Like I said,
Mm.
it's borderline false advertisement because it was not a scary game at all. It was not anything having to do with a murderer or a haunted house or anything like that. There were a few hints of occultism that like the one sister had been into, but it was really not anything at all.
Mm.
Same thing with Firewatch. They were like, there's a huge mystery. I was like, no, it's just a guy in the fucking fire tower that runs away from a forest fire. It's really all it is. There was like a hint of a mystery somewhere, but it was never really you never really dove into it. And so I feel like if you look at Among the Sleep as a walking simulator, it kind of did what they should have.
Yeah, that's true. I'd say it's an enhanced walking simulator that is very well done. Yeah, that's what I would call this game. Yeah.
I mean, I could be on board with that. I mean, definitely it has walking simulator aspects to it, and it's something more than just that, right? Because like if you go back to like the original walking simulator, which was about Dear Esther or something, where all you literally do is just walk through environments and hear narrative, right? I mean, it's more than that.
But Dear Esther,
there are actual mechanics or something, right? So, yeah, it's like a walking simulator plus, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I said an enhanced walking simulator.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Let's get this right. It's not a walking simulator. It's a waddling / crawling.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Waddling.
Waddling simulator.
Yeah. That makes you puke.
That
so like what
makes you feel exactly like a 2-year-old, puking all over yourself. Yeah.
I gotta lay out the bottle. So what do you guys like overall? What do you guys think?
I would say that what was the price on this one? It was like $15 or something.
No, I don't remember. It's like $15-$20. It's on sale a lot too.
Yeah, I know. Right now it's on sale. I think.
Remember? I mean, I'd say.
Or for Halloween it was.
Yeah, I'd say probably if you are not the type to get sick easily from this style of game, then it's certainly worth a play. Maybe on sale. I would say
I would say there are some missed opportunities here, which would have been awesome for us to see them explore, right? But I don't know. It's a tight little experience, and it only takes like 3 hours. And I got it for cheap, right? I don't know exactly how much the right price is here for this, but yeah.
I got this for free when I was doing Indie Game Riot. They sent a review code, so I can't really comment on that. I will say, what is it again? It was like $20 full price, I think.
Was it that much?
Out.
I didn't pay full
Maybe
price
15.
then. There's no way I paid $20 for this.
It was like $15 or $20, but either way, I feel like that might have been a little high considering that it was a 3 to 4 hour game, depending on how much you explore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems a little high for that.
But at the same time, and from a dev point of view, you put a lot of work and time into it, even if it is a short game, and
yeah. Well,
if you're willing to support them,
it is $17, which I think is pricey for this game. It is. Considering that you can get far longer, more complex gameplay experiences for the same or cheaper, I would say that it is a very pricey game.
It probably should be priced at something about the cost of like a movie, right? And so that's significantly more, right?
Yeah.
Depending on whether you're being in theater or renting or what, but yeah.
Yep.
But it's on sale all the time, so you can keep it.
It's always weird to talk about price, right? Because I mean, Vance, you're a developer, like it's
very relevant.
Yeah, well, you certainly need to make money, and I'm also of the mindset that things are worth what people are willing to pay for them. So if people are willing to pay for this game at its current price, then sure, that's the right price for it. So far be it from me to tell anybody what they should pay for anything.
Yeah.
I'd say that if I were not reviewing it for this show, and instead had just bought it for my own enjoyment, I would have felt like I had paid too much at $17. But that is my own personal um, price preference, I suppose.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Okay.
I would say, what overall positive game? Just wait for a sale.